Thank you all for coming. This is our Innovation Foundation. We've had a couple of these and excited for this one as well. So this one, I'd like to introduce Matt. He is here to talk about the building a culture of experimentation. So I will let him kind of take over, introduce himself, and we can get this started.
Thank you very much, Kellen. I'm going to share my screen and put it in presentation mode. I'm really excited to share today a few slides and have a conversation with you all about building a culture of experimentation. There are a few places in here where I'm going to ask you all some questions. Feel free to come off mute then, or just to put your answers in the chat if you'd like. We'd really love for this to be interactive, and I'll leave some more time for questions at the end. So building a culture of experimentation, I'd like to talk about building a culture of blank. What is building a culture of what? What is your goal for your culture to drive business value? Experimentation is one that comes up quite a lot, particularly with the growth of AI and its application in marketing and customer experience. So that's where we're going to focus today. But you could also think of culture of innovation, culture of collaboration, think culture of empathy. There's a lot of different things that are goodness in your culture and the types of behaviors you're trying to drive. So feel free to insert, in the chat if you'd like, what type of culture you're trying to build at your company, and what it is about experimentation that got you interested in joining today. And we can see those in the chat as we get going. Culture fits together with strategy. Drucker is misquoted for saying that culture eats strategy for breakfast. He actually said something else, but I won't bore you with the actual quote. I actually think that's true because if you don't pay attention to culture, your change efforts are not likely to succeed. But I think it's more than that. Culture goes together with strategy. Culture is all about behavior, and culture helps you realize your strategy through the right behaviors. And we're going to talk more about that today in culture of experimentation and how that helps reinforce value, growth in customer lifetime value. If you want to go deeper on the topic here, this is something I shared more last month in a session titled, "Are Your Strategy, Culture, and Brand Promise Aligned?" And you can find that, Kellen, if you can put that in the chat, like where the link, where people can find the recordings, or DM me or email me, I'd be happy to share it with you. You can also go to the Journey Spark website if you want to learn more about this value accelerator, which helps you reinforce the alignment of your strategy, your culture, and your customer listening efforts. Now, today we're going to dive deeper on culture of experimentation. Culture is all about behavior. And I like to encourage you to think about direct and indirect behaviors, both of which help you to tap into the energy of your people in your organization to improve customer experience and business outcomes. And the energy of your people is a renewable resource. It's pretty cool. Culture is about behaviors, mindsets, skills, and relationship networks. And ideas and energy flow through networks, relationship networks. The people in your organization are key to the energy. You can lift the culture up or bring the culture down. Now, a direct impact on CX through culture is where I focused last month, and that's how your employees show up in the customer journey. The peaks in the customer journey are the way your people show up. So think about when you go into Starbucks and you talk to a barista, the way they engage with you is an employee behavior that impacts the customer experience. The same is true in a hotel, in a bank, in a doctor's office. Any time you're interacting with a frontline employee, the employee behaviors have a huge impact on those peaks in the customer journey together with digital experiences in the physical environment. Now, the indirect impact on CX is our focus today. This is the behaviors of your employees that impact the design and implementation of your experiences that you're delivering. Now, AI enables a lot of impact through people using AI in their work and also providing insights and analytics and more personalized experiences. But someone has to design those experiences and someone has to use the analytics and improve continuously the content of the experience. So the indirect impact is actually about experimentation and collaboration. So that's where we're going to focus today, and we're going to dive into some cornerstone disciplines I'll share a little bit more about. These are ways like design thinking or agility or quality management. Cornerstone disciplines are a way a company reinforces culture and gets people to use a common vocabulary, have common rituals. Like, I think Agile is all about rituals. So this actually reinforces experimentation. So we're going to focus on that a little bit today. Here are 3 example cornerstone disciplines. This is not an exhaustive list in cornerstone disciplines, but disciplines like these actually reinforce a culture of experimentation. On this chart, I'm showing just a few examples of cultural behaviors for each of these 3 cornerstone disciplines: design thinking, agility, and data-driven decisions. So one of these may be a priority for your company and be more in the ethos of the company and where you're focused to drive adoption and behavior. And if you pick a cornerstone discipline, it's a little bit like skiing downhill. You don't want to ski uphill. If the cornerstone discipline is already part of the way people think and work, it's easier to drive change if you ski downhill and pick a cornerstone discipline that's already being embraced in the organization to reinforce your culture of experimentation. These are example behaviors that reinforce a culture of experimentation. For example, under design thinking, challenging assumptions is key to experimentation. What are your ingrained assumptions? Don't take things for granted. Let's test that. A great quote in a book about experimentation that a professor wrote was the CEO of Booking.com. A new CEO said to the employees, I'd like to change the website to do the following. And one of the staff members of the CEO said, great, let's test that. So that even the CEO doesn't get to dictate in that culture at Booking.com. It's in the culture that you challenge assumptions and you test things. Agility, another example here. Often people talk about fail fast, learn faster. Well, that's a behavior you can actually reinforce consistently as part of agility that reinforces experimentation. So generating I wish I knew statements under data-driven decisions. I had a couple of folks, Oda Netzer and Christopher Frank, on my podcast, the CX and Culture Connection. They're Columbia professors, and they wrote a book called Data-Driven Decisions. And they have this great framework called I wish I knew, IWIC statements, where you identify the things you wish you knew, and then you go gather data and run experiments to prove or disprove them. Okay? So this is a behavior that you can drive in the organization to ask questions like that. So this is just a starter set of thoughts for how to think about behaviors and get us all on the same page about what we mean by behaviors and culture that reinforce a culture of experimentation. The question then is, how do you drive intentionally the right behaviors in the organization to get more of the outcomes that you want? So question for you all, and maybe put your answers in the chat, or feel free to come off mute. What cornerstone disciplines are you focused on that reinforce a culture of experimentation? Anyone like to share? Are there any of these disciplines that resonate the most with you, even if you're not fully embracing it now, where you think that getting more of it would help you reinforce a culture of experimentation?
The one thing I could say, Matt, is one of the things that I brought into the IAB, the trade association I used to run, uh, was the was leading by example in meetings with a phrase that I would repeat a lot, which was simply, "This may sound crazy, but what if?" This may sound crazy, but what if? I think I had an acronym for it that was as long as the phrase itself. And that was an invitation to people either to push back and tell me, yes, you're crazy because, or to push forward and advance the what if. Well, that might work if we added this to it. So those were, and those actually proved to be extraordinarily valuable because we ended up with some terrific revenue generating schemes that came out of those kinds of sessions.
What you're highlighting, Randy, is that leadership behaviors and like creating a shared vocabulary are key to the culture, right? So as a CEO, you modeled that behavior and you encouraged other people and you repeated it regularly and got other people to adopt that behavior too. And what you're describing could fall under design thinking, it could fall under data-driven decisions, or it may stand on its own. What are your thoughts?
I think it's a combination of the two. I mean, I think the most important part of this is that, and this goes back many, many years now, but I took over the organization from a predecessor who had been very much a control freak. And so people had learned either not to advance ideas on their own, or that if they were going to do something of that, to hide it. They weren't accustomed to doing it in kind of public meetings. So it cuts directly to your core idea here that this is very much cultural, and it is very much a discipline that not only can be modeled, it kind of needs to be modeled from the top.
Thanks, Randy. Um, if anyone else wants to share any other thoughts, feel free to add them to the chat. I'm going to keep going now, and we'll have a couple other opportunities for people to interject in a couple minutes. So as you look to build a culture of experimentation, you can tap into AI to reinforce the behaviors that we're talking about and shift the way work gets done in the organization and the way you work with external partners. And if you think about this flywheel going around the clock, it starts with insights. AI is changing the way we develop insights. We can get better insights faster at lower cost. So you're able to mine your experience data and your operational data together and get much more rapid insights to support your decision making and experimentation. Now you can also simulate things with AI. And I'll share a case study in a minute of using AI to look at things through the eyes of your personas. Now, in the past, you would do expensive research. You would hire an agency or hire a research firm or have an internal team that do research, and it might take weeks or months to get insights back. Now, what you can actually do with platforms like Wevo is you can ask a question of your personas with AI and actually get an answer immediately. And you can share content with people. So it takes minutes to get feedback on content. Once you have, say, a mock-up or a prototype, or even just a question you want to ask and share some text, you can start looking at things through the eyes of your personas and simulating how people would respond, which is effectively experimentation on steroids. Sounds like someone needs to be on mute. The you can continue also to drive analytics where you are scoring things with AI. So think of like not just saying, are people happy or sad? Are they stressed out or calm. That's what a lot of people, when they focus on using AI to score, say, call center conversations, they focus on that level of sentiment. You can actually score emotions. Like if you determine that you want people to feel confident or supported or valued, build a topic model of scoring those emotions and whether they show up in your interactions. Not just call centers, but other conversations as well. You can score the brand. One hotel client was focused on reliable and friendly, where you want to create reliable and friendly scores, or scoring the behaviors of people. So you can use AI to mine and actually synthetically score things, not just have general sentiment. This provides much richer analytics to optimize things with experiments, because the emotions you get, for example, in the journey have twice the predictive power for outcomes as something like NPS. Once you know the emotions you want in the journey and you've done your journey mapping, you can actually design an experience and measure whether you're getting that. I shared a case study on this with the retailer in the last month's conversation on brand and culture. You can also map whether customers fit into a specific persona. With one client, we mined conversations and we're able to predictively match the customer to the persona that we developed based on mining the unstructured data. And once we map people to the persona, we can better target people and optimize the experience along the journey. And you can run lots of experimentation around that. You can then optimize the targeting with lookalike analysis, say feed the list of your personas that you develop in step 3 into Facebook or Google or the Trade Desk. And you can also use it for ongoing test and learn with your journey orchestration platforms like Salesforce or Optimum. And then you can continue to optimize and experiment on an ongoing basis. Some companies run hundreds, thousands, even hundreds of thousands of experiments a year, where they're continually optimizing content and the cycle continues. So experimentation is around driving behavior in the organization, and AI is an enormous accelerator for being able to do this better, faster, and cheaper. You can apply your experimentation to different pathways to value. So one pathway to value is digital advertising. And you can think of that as going beyond what is done with dynamic content optimization today, which tends to be a bit winner take all. You try things in a learning phase, and then you do what works best in the earning phase. But now you can actually tailor things to your personas and continue to optimize the content for specific personas with much greater creative variety than a DCO model. And I'll share an example in a minute of getting a 50% lift on marketing by applying this to digital advertising. You can also build agentic experiences. This is getting a lot of focus today around personalized messages, either in-app or text messages, where next best content, next best action. It's not just inserting content, but having an agent, a bot, interact with your customers so that you can create agentic experiences, which are actually using AI and experimentation on an ongoing basis to improve experiences. You can optimize e-commerce and shopper solutions. This is a way to have continuous experimentation. In the physical store, it's very hard to experiment because you have to ship stuff in. It's very hard. It takes 6 to 9 months to plan and send stuff in. But in e-commerce and digital shopper, you can experiment continuously. You can also use a click-through on the package to have phygital products, where it's a physical product with digital augmented reality or something you scan. So you can have digital combined with physical for experimentation. And certainly this works in e-commerce as well. And then loyalty, of course, optimizing ongoing experience and iterating it. You want to earn loyalty, not buy loyalty, and continuously improve the experience, and think of loyalty as a journey. The first 90 days after signing up in a loyalty program have enormous impact on the lifetime value. So getting those first 90 days right through experimentation and then continuous experimentation beyond that are key to get value. So these are 4 different ways to to create value. This is not exhaustive, but these are the four that I've found have the most value impact when you focus on building a culture of experimentation. Here's an example with a education travel client, and my partner Virginia is on the session as well. She and I work together with this client. And this was using digital advertising to target personas. We had come up with, we're showing two of the primary personas here and their core motivations. Think of teachers traveling with their students on tours, and you need to acquire the teachers to become tour leaders, to become group leaders. So they're using Facebook advertising to target the teachers to sign up to become a group leader and build travel programs at their school. And based on the insights we developed with the personas, we were able to use Wevo Pulse to start optimizing the content through the eyes of the personas. This is the AI simulation I was talking about, and do experimentation and iteration, as well as leverage the native Gen AI capabilities now to, in a kind of, this is a augmented human way. We're coming up with ideas with their creative team, and then the AI is simulating what the persona will react to, and actually and it's creating alternative copy in this case. And we tested this versus DCO. So this is versus a best practice. We tested this, the content generated through the eyes of the personas, and we got a 50% lift versus DCO based on this approach. So this is a model for experimentation that you can see drives substantial lift based on experimentation around the content for advertising. The same model works for the other use cases I mentioned with e-commerce and loyalty and agentic experience. I'm just showing digital advertising here as one example in the interest of time. So my question to you all, again, love your thoughts. What use cases do you see as having the most upside to focus on as you're trying to build a culture of experimentation? Again, feel free to come off mute or share your thoughts in chat.
Hey, Matt, it's Tamar. Sorry, I'm
Tamar.
not on video. Something is busted on my laptop. The biggest use case, honestly, that I've been engaging with lately is the actual implementation of AI within an organization, and not not so much kind of what the AI is intended to solve, but how to get employees to be willing to engage with it, to remove the fear of it, to understand that they need to leverage these new tools without fear of losing their own jobs. And so when I sort of think about the behaviors that you were just laying out, and what some of the use cases are, we're really seeing, how do we leverage change management? How do we leverage just training and information to be able to get employees to remove the fear? And that's really our biggest, that's what I'm seeing as one of the biggest opportunities lately.
I think that's a really excellent point, Tamara, that a lot of times we focus on the immediate benefit of this and not what is it going to take to get people to change? Is the benefit enough to get people to want to engage in the behavior? And whether it's the time saving people are going to have, or the additional opportunity for job enrichment to focus more on the insights, whatever it is that makes it exciting and engaging for people, we need to also help them overcome their resistance, not just see the benefits. And a lot of times that happens by getting hands-on opportunity, get people to make a commitment, get them to practice it, get them to interact with others, give them mentorship and coaching, but give them a safe space to play without feeling like they're going to be judged as they try things.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think, and I think some of the other elements are updating the measurements by which their own performance metrics, to give them time. I think recognizing that this is a long-term program, not we held 2 training sessions, so why aren't you, leading here? And sort of helping leadership recognize that there's sort of the immediate, right, to get people up and running on the tools that are needed right now, but then the long-term aspect of this is now a whole new way that we're going to be working, and how do we lead towards that long term? So I'm sort of seeing, like, how do we sort of lead short term as well as making sure that it's sort of built into the program for long term design.
Those are great points. I think just to build on them, like I think having the executive sponsorship for these use cases is key. So people see that this is something that has really the organization's commitment and the senior leadership is bought in. And that may be you yourself as a leader or other leaders that you report up to, getting them to buy in and demonstrate that commitment to other people. And then also overcoming some of the barriers to change, like either legal or otherwise, or risk management. Very often these types of experiments are best done, particularly when AI is involved, with a human in the loop. And also getting the parties to the table up front who may, for example, when you're experimenting with content in an ad campaign or a website, it's key to make sure that all the content gets approved by a human being and goes through the regular review processes, so that people are comfortable continuing to work this way and feel like they're not going to be viewed as going rogue or get punished for having done it. Plus it doesn't get shut down. So I think getting that alignment up front and getting the right people involved in the experiment, and that might actually mean, spending the time with the people who are going to have to approve content and showing them that this process actually makes it easier and better for everybody. Their life will be easier. It helps drive the change, and then you're not fighting the system.
100%.
Yeah. Let's keep going. If anyone has other thoughts, feel free to put them in the chat again. So, look, this change takes time, and no one is going to go from few experiments to hundreds or thousands of experiments overnight. Booking.com has 30,000 plus experiments a year. Some casinos run 100,000 experiments a year in gaming companies. You don't have to go there right away, right? You can start moving from crawling to walking to running by taking a few very pragmatic steps. Getting from crawling to walking, some really easy things you can do are start leveraging AI simulation to try things. It's a cost-effective way to do experimentation, is to start getting very rapid insights and experimenting with what the AI simulation like Vivo will give you rapid insights. And you can also pick experiments to run in one of the use cases to build muscle in experimentation and start learning more agility around how to actually drive experimentation for a focused set of, like maybe one use case to run a number of experiments in the first, year. As you get more sophisticated, you can start leveraging a broader set of data sets for more continuous improvement across your use cases. And you can also start to tangibly demonstrate the emotions you're driving and how they drive business outcomes. And as you get to fly, you're pro at this, and you're running lots and lots of experiments, hundreds if not thousands of them. It's very comfortable, and it's distributed across the organization with lots of people running experiments with data at their fingertips. So take a crawl, walk, run approach. Don't jump straight to the right, and make sure you pay attention to culture and change management, which is what unlocks these opportunities. Now, this is all about growth. And what's awesome about this is if you would take this culture for experimentation approach, it's actually self-funding. So the savings that you achieve on research and testing actually pay for your investments. The investment, the opportunity on the right for revenue, reinvesting in profit growth, that comes from things like customer retention, improved acquisition, more premium experiences. Those can be orders of magnitude higher than the cost savings. But the point I'm making is the stuff on the left actually pays for the investments. And this allows you to build momentum and generate a much faster pace of investment as you go. So the three drivers of the self-funding model are more for less for research and testing. AI simulation allows you, it's not that you no longer do A/B split tests or no longer do video concept tests, et cetera, but the mix of more and more of the experiments are done via simulation versus more expensive testing. You'll blend the two, and you can combine this with modern approaches to experience management using platforms like Qualtrics and Quantimetric and others. So you get continuous insights. So that's more for less on research and testing. And I've seen companies actually save 30 to 50% of their research and testing spend, whether it's apparel or banking or consumer goods, by applying this type of model. You can also rationalize the vendor stack. In many cases, there are 10 to 20 vendors, and you can get that number in half by focusing on collaborating with a focused set of vendors, and then you get more for less there too. And then the cost of quality, this is a big one. As you drive improvement in the experience through your continuous improvement model, it has a quality impact, which has a cost to the organization, either through people's time or through waste or through make goods or whatever it is. And there's also the employee churn impact of friction. Okay, so if you improve quality management, that, by the way, that is a cornerstone discipline you can focus on. With one tech client, we actually drove $100 million in quality impact by focusing on a culture effort. Okay, and then we expanded to other disciplines from there. So these three things have big impact on your ability to invest for growth. So you want to, and the experimentation will drive insights and savings that you can also funnel into growth opportunities. But this is not about automation and removing work from the value chain. That'll happen because of making it easier to create content and insights. It's about removing friction and quality impact so that you can reinvest dollars and things that drive marketing ROI. So any last thoughts people have on the best ways to create a self-funding growth flywheel? Which ones of these are you working on already? Feel free to put that in the chat or to shout it out if you want to come off of mute. Any of these that people feel like they're working on already? Is anybody starting to experiment more with AI tools or considering starting them? Is that something anyone's working on that's on the call? Okay, I won't put you on the spot, anyone. Feel free to add it to the chat if you'd like to. So look, we can help. Journey Spark can help you to design, to set your strategy and pick the right experiments. That's something we worked on with the education travel client that I mentioned that Virginia and I worked on, and have done this work with insurance and hospitality and retail and healthcare and B2B manufacturing. So this applies broadly. So definitely feel free to reach out if that strategy and experimentation is something you want to talk about. And you can also approach, picking the right vendors and changing the way you work with them to build this culture of experimentation. And then you can focus on capturing these self-funding methods, picking one or more of the methods I shared as a way of driving that self-funding model for your use cases. So definitely feel free to reach out over LinkedIn, if direct message or email if this is something you want to talk some more about, and definitely get involved in the CX on the Rocks community. We'll be having more sessions and workshops and things like that in the future, and I'll be also doing breakout groups. If you want to join one of our monthly sessions and ask me questions in one of the breakout groups, I'd be happy to talk then. So thank you very much. I'm happy to stay on the line if there are any other questions and people want to chat for a few minutes. Otherwise, feel free to reach out individually. Any other questions people have now? Well, thank you so much for joining today. I hope this sparks some great ideas and energy for you. Have a great day, everybody.